The funeral home smelled like lilies and lemon furniture polish. Simone stood beside her father's casket, her black dress hanging loose on her frame. She had lost 10 pounds in the week since his heart attack. She had not eaten, had barely slept, and now she had to smile at people who kept saying he's in a better place, like that was supposed to make her feel better about losing the only parent she had left. Her father had raised her alone after her mother died when Simone was 12. He worked 2 jobs to put her through college. He walked her down the aisle when she married Trevor 4 years ago. He was her best friend, her rock, her everything. And now he was gone. People filed past the casket, offering condolences that blurred together. Simone's legs ached from standing, but she could not sit down. Not yet. Not while people were still arriving. She kept glancing at the entrance, waiting for Trevor. Her husband had promised he would be there early to support her. The funeral started at 10. It was now noon and the service was about to begin. Her phone buzzed. A text from Trevor, running late. Be there soon. That was the 3rd running late text in 2 hours. Simone felt a knot forming in her stomach, but she pushed it down. Trevor was probably caught in traffic. He was probably having trouble finding parking. He would be here any minute. The funeral director approached and gently suggested they begin the service. Simone nodded, her throat too tight to speak. She took her seat in the front row, the empty chair beside her a glaring reminder that her husband was not there when she needed him most. The pastor began speaking about her father's kindness, his dedication to his daughter, his faith. Simone heard the words but could not process them. She kept turning to look at the entrance. Where was Trevor? 15 minutes into the service, the funeral home doors opened. Simone's head snapped around, relief flooding through her. Finally. But relief turned to confusion. Trevor walked in wearing a navy suit, not the black one they had picked out together last night. And he was not alone. A woman walked beside him, her hand resting on his arm. She was tall, with long brown hair, wearing a designer black dress that probably cost more than Simone's entire outfit. Diamond earrings caught the light as she leaned close to Trevor, whispering something that made him nod. Simone stared. Who was this woman? Why was she holding Trevor's arm like that? Why was she at her father's funeral? Before Simone could process what was happening, Trevor's mother stood up from her seat 3 rows back. She rushed toward Trevor and the strange woman, pulling them both into a hug. Trevor's 2 sisters followed, surrounding the woman with embraces and whispered greetings. No one looked at Simone. No one came to check if she was okay. Simone turned back to the pastor, her heart pounding. This could not be happening. Not here. Not now. Not at her father's funeral. Trevor and the woman took seats in the back row. His entire family rearranged themselves to sit near them, leaving Simone alone in the front row. She could hear them whispering, could feel their eyes on her back, but she could not turn around. She stared at her father's casket and forced herself to breathe. The service continued. People spoke about her father's life, his love for his daughter, his strength. Simone heard none of it. All she could think about was the woman sitting with her husband and his family while she sat alone. When the service ended, people approached Simone to offer final condolences. She shook hands and accepted hugs, moving through the motions like a robot. Through the crowd, she saw Trevor standing with the woman, his hand on the small of her back. His mother stood beside them, smiling at something the woman said. Simone's college friend Brielle appeared at her elbow, her dark eyes flashing with anger. What is Trevor doing? She whispered. Who is that woman? I don't know, Simone said, her voice hollow. Do you want me to find out? No. Not here. Not now. But Brielle was already moving through the crowd toward Trevor. Simone watched as Brielle approached, her posture rigid with barely contained fury. Brielle spoke to Trevor, gesturing toward Simone. Trevor shrugged, said something brief and turned away. Brielle's mouth dropped open in shock. She marched back to Simone, her hands clenched into fists. He said he can't talk right now because Vanessa is having a hard time with funerals. Vanessa. That's her name. He said she needs his support. The words hit Simone like a physical blow. The woman's name was Vanessa. Trevor was supporting her. At Simone's father's funeral. I need to get out of here, Simone said. I'll drive you home. No. I have to do the burial. I have to finish this. The burial was a blur. Simone stood by the grave as they lowered her father's casket into the ground. The pastor said prayers. People threw roses onto the casket. Simone stood frozen, unable to cry, unable to move, unable to process anything happening around her. Trevor stood 20 feet away with Vanessa. His mother and sisters surrounded them like a protective barrier. When people approached to speak to Simone, She saw them glance over at Trevor's group, confusion on their faces. She heard the whisper starting. Who was that woman? Why wasn't Trevor standing with his wife? After the burial, there was a reception at Simone's house. She had arranged for catering, had cleaned the house, had prepared everything while dealing with her grief. She had done it all alone because Trevor said he was too busy with work to help. As people filled her living room, Simone retreated to the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of water with shaking hands and leaned against the counter, trying to steady herself. Voices drifted from the living room. She heard Trevor's mother's distinctive laugh, high and artificial. "Oh Vanessa, you look exhausted. Let me get you some tea." "Simone, where do you keep the good tea?" Simone walked to the kitchen doorway. Trevor's mother was leading Vanessa to the couch, the best seat in the house. She was fussing over her, adjusting cushions, treating her like honored guest. Trevor's sisters brought Vanessa food, asking if she needed anything else. Trevor sat beside Vanessa, his arm draped along the back of the couch behind her shoulders. No one had asked Simone if she needed anything. No one had checked on her. She was the one who lost her father, and she was being treated like a stranger in her own home. Simone set down her glass and walked upstairs to her bedroom. She locked the door and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. She could hear people talking downstairs, could hear Trevor's mother's voice rising above the others, but it all sounded far away. A knock on the door. "Simone." Brielle's voice. "Can I come in?" Simone unlocked the door. Brielle slipped inside and immediately wrapped Simone in a hug. That was when the tears finally came. Simone sobbed into Brielle's shoulder, her whole body shaking with grief and confusion and growing rage. "I heard something," Brielle said quietly when Simone's tears finally slowed. "I was standing near Trevor's mother. She didn't see me. She was talking to Trevor's sister. She said, 'At least Vanessa is here for him during this difficult time.'" Simone pulled back, wiping her eyes. "His difficult time?" "That's what she said. My father died. My father. Not Trevor's. Mine." "I know. Who is Vanessa?" "I don't know. But we're going to find out." By 8 that evening, everyone had left. Everyone except Trevor. He sat in the living room, scrolling through his phone as if this were any normal day. As if he had not just brought another woman to his wife's father's funeral. Simone stood in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter. She had spent the last hour cleaning up, throwing away paper plates, washing dishes that the caterers had missed. She had needed something to do with her hands while her mind raced. She could not avoid this conversation any longer. Simone walked into the living room. Trevor did not look up from his phone. "We need to talk," Simone said. "Can it wait?" "I'm in the middle of something." "No. It cannot wait." Trevor sighed and set down his phone, his expression already annoyed. "What? Who is Vanessa?" Trevor's jaw tightened. "A friend. A friend you bring to my father's funeral? A friend your entire family treats like family while they ignore your wife. Don't be dramatic, Simone." "Dramatic?" Her voice rose. "I buried my father today. You were 2 hours late. You brought a strange woman with you. Your family acted like I didn't exist. And I'm being dramatic? My family was being polite to a guest." "A guest? Trevor, who is she?" Trevor stood up, his face flushing. "You really want to do this right now? Today?" "Yes, right now. Today." "Tell me who she is." "Fine." Trevor crossed his arms. "Vanessa is my girlfriend. We've been together for 3 years. My family knows. They like her. They think she's better for me than you are." The words hung in the air between them. Simone felt like she had been punched in the chest. 3 years. Girlfriend. Better for him. 3 years, Simone repeated slowly. "We've been married for 4 years. I know how long we've been married, Simone. You've been cheating on me for 3 years? I wouldn't call it cheating. We were just going through the motions anyway." Simone's legs felt weak. She sat down on the arm of the couch. "Going through the motions? Come on. You had to know this wasn't working. We barely talk. We barely spend time together. Because you were always working late. You were always busy with your business." "No." Trevor's voice was cold. "I was with Vanessa. At her place. At restaurants. At hotels. Living a life with someone who actually appreciates me. I appreciate you. I've supported you. I helped fund your business with my mother's life insurance money. And I'm grateful for that. Really. But Vanessa comes from money. Her family has connections. She can help me grow my business in ways you never could." Simone stood up, her hands trembling. "So this is about money? About connections?" It's about building a future with someone suitable. Vanessa went to the same business school as me. Her father owns a financial firm. She understands my world. I understand your world. I work in project management. I helped you write your business plan. It's not the same. Trevor moved toward the door. Look, I didn't want to do this today. I wanted to wait until things calmed down. But you pushed. So now you know. Where are you going? To Vanessa's. I've been staying there for the past month. I only came back to the house when I needed clean clothes. You've been living with her? For a month. Yes. While my father was dying. While I was sitting at the hospital. You were living with another woman? Your father had a heart attack, Simone. It's not like you could have prevented it. The casual cruelty of that statement took Simone's breath away. She stared at this man she had loved, this man she had married, and realized she did not know him at all. Get out, she said quietly. What? Get out of my house. Technically it's our house. I'm on the deed too. You want to talk about technicalities right now? Fine. Get your lawyer. I'll get mine. But tonight, right now, get out of my house before I call the police. Trevor grabbed his jacket from the coat rack. This is why it didn't work between us. You're too emotional. Too reactive. Vanessa never loses her temper like this. He walked to the door then turned back. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce. I want half of everything, including this house and whatever's left of your mother's life insurance money. My family has good lawyers. Don't try to fight this. The door closed behind him. Simone stood in the empty living room, her father's funeral program still sitting on the coffee table. She picked it up with shaking hands. On the front was a photo of her father smiling, his arm around teenage Simone at her high school graduation. Her phone rang. Trevor's mother. Simone stared at the screen watching it ring. On the fourth ring she answered. Simone dear, Trevor's mother said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Trevor told me you two talked. I think it's best if you let him go gracefully. Vanessa really is perfect for him. She comes from such a good family. You understand, don't you? Are you serious right now? I know this is difficult, but sometimes marriages just don't work out. You'll be fine. You have your job. You'll move on. But Trevor needs to be with someone who can really support his ambitions. You knew, Simone said. You knew he was cheating on me for 3 years and you said nothing. I wouldn't call it cheating, dear. Trevor was exploring his options. Making sure he was making the right choice. And you brought his girlfriend to my father's funeral. You treated her like family while ignoring me. Well, she will be family soon. Trevor plans to propose once the divorce is final. We just thought it would be good for her to get used to family events. Simone hung up. She dropped the phone on the couch and walked to the kitchen. She opened the refrigerator and stared at the contents without seeing anything. Food people had brought after the funeral. Casseroles and salads and desserts. All of it made her feel sick. She closed the refrigerator and leaned against it, sliding down to sit on the kitchen floor. Her father's death. Trevor's betrayal. His family's cruelty. It was all too much. But as she sat there on the cold kitchen floor, something shifted inside her. The crushing grief began to harden into something else. Something sharp and clear and cold. Trevor thought he could take half of everything? He thought his family's lawyers would intimidate her? He thought she would just accept this betrayal quietly and gracefully? He did not know her at all. Her father had not raised her to be weak. He had not raised her to accept mistreatment. He had raised her to fight for herself. Simone stood up. She walked to her home office and turned on her computer. She opened her email and typed, "divorce attorney," into the search bar. It was time to find out exactly what Trevor had really been doing with her money for the past 3 years. Simone did not sleep that night. She sat at her desk surrounded by file folders, bank statements, and her laptop, piecing together 3 years of financial betrayal. She started with their joint checking account. Every month, like clockwork, money disappeared. Transfers marked business expenses ranged from $500 to $3,000. Simone had never questioned them because Trevor said he was investing in his consulting business. She had trusted him. But now she looked closer. The transfers did not go to business accounts. They went to personal accounts she had never heard of. Some went directly to account numbers she did not recognize. Others were labeled with names like Starlight Holdings and Cascade Investments. Simone searched those company names online. They did not exist. Not as registered businesses, not as LLCs, not as anything official. They were fake. She pulled up credit card statements next. Their joint credit card, the one they used for household expenses, showed normal charges. Groceries, gas, utilities. But Trevor had a separate credit card, one attached to their joint account, that Simone rarely checked because he said it was for business travel. The charges on that card told a different story. Luxury hotels in cities where Trevor claimed to have business meetings. But the hotels were too expensive. The restaurants were too upscale. And there were charges from jewelry stores, boutiques, spas. One charge caught her eye. A payment to a car dealership in February 2 years ago. $15,000 down payment. Simone had never seen a new car. They still drove the same vehicles they had before marriage. She searched Trevor's email next. He used their shared computer sometimes, and his email was still logged in from yesterday. Simone knew she should not read his private emails, but that moral boundary seemed laughable now after everything he had done. The email folder labeled V made her stomach turn. Hundreds of emails between Trevor and Vanessa, dating back 3 years and 2 months. The early emails were flirty and cautious. By month 3 they were explicit. By month 6 they were planning a future together. But it was not the love letters that destroyed Simone. It was the emails about money. In one email from a year ago, Vanessa wrote, "The condo is perfect. I can't believe you did this for me. Your wife has no idea." Trevor's response, "She doesn't check the accounts closely. As long as I leave enough for household expenses, she doesn't notice. She's too busy with work to pay attention." Another email from 6 months ago, "Your family is right. You should have married someone from our circle. Someone who understands business. Your wife is nice, but she's not ambitious enough for you. Trevor, I know. I'm working on the exit strategy. I need to secure enough assets first. Her mother's life insurance money is sitting in our joint savings account. I'm slowly transferring it to accounts she can't access. My lawyer says if I do it right, I can claim half of everything in the divorce, including the house she owned before we got married." Simone read that email 3 times, her hands shaking. Exit strategy. He had been planning to divorce her for months, maybe years. He had been systematically stealing from her while planning to take even more in the divorce. She found emails between Trevor and his mother next. They discussed Simone like she was a problem to be managed. Trevor's mother, "Just be patient. Keep her happy until you have secured everything you need. Then you can divorce her and marry Vanessa properly." Trevor, "I'm trying, but it's getting harder to pretend. She's so boring. All she talks about is her job and her father. Vanessa and I have so much more in common." His mother, "I know, dear. But think about the long-term plan. Her inheritance from her mother is significant. The house is paid off. If you divorce her now before securing those assets, you might lose everything. Be smart about this." Trevor, "You're right. I'll wait. Besides, her father is old. When he passes, there might be more inheritance." Simone closed the laptop and ran to the bathroom. She made it just in time before she vomited. When her stomach was empty, she sat on the bathroom floor, crying and shaking. They had all been planning this. Trevor, his mother, his sisters, Vanessa. They had all known. They had all been in on it. And they had waited for the perfect moment to destroy her. Her father's death was not that moment by accident. They had brought Vanessa to the funeral specifically to humiliate Simone, to show her that she was being replaced, to break her spirit before the divorce battle began. But they had made a mistake. They had underestimated her. They thought she would fall apart, that grief would make her weak and compliant. They thought she would sign whatever papers they put in front of her just to make the pain stop. They were wrong. Simone stood up and washed her face. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face pale. But beneath the grief and exhaustion, she saw something else. The same steel her father had. The same strength that had gotten him through raising a daughter alone, working 2 jobs, never complaining. She went back to her office and opened a new document on her computer. She began taking screenshots of every damning email. She downloaded bank statements going back 4 years. She made copies of credit card statements, of the fake business names, of the car dealership charge. By 3 in the morning, she had compiled a file of evidence that proved systematic fraud and theft. Trevor had stolen over $100,000 from their joint accounts. He had used her mother's life insurance money to buy Vanessa a car, to put a down payment on Vanessa's condo, to fund expensive vacations and gifts. He had even been transferring money to his mother and sisters. $500 here, $1,000 there. All from the accounts he shared with Simone. All without her knowledge or consent. The house was a different issue. Simone had owned it before marriage, had inherited it from her grandmother. But Trevor had convinced her to add his name to the deed 2 years ago, saying it would make things easier if something happened to one of them. She had done it because she loved him, because she trusted him. Now she understood. It was part of the plan. part of the exit strategy. At 6 in the morning, Simone searched online for divorce attorneys. She made a list of the top 5 family law firms in the city that specialized in high-asset divorces and fraud cases. She called the first one as soon as they opened at 8. Holloway and Associates, a receptionist answered. I need to speak to an attorney about filing for divorce. It's urgent. Can I ask what makes it urgent? My husband has been systematically stealing money from our joint accounts for 3 years. I have documentation. I need to file as soon as possible before he has time to hide more assets. There was a pause. Hold please. 90 seconds later, a woman's voice came on the line. This is Patricia Holloway. I understand you have an urgent situation. Can you come in today? Yes. Anytime. How about 10 this morning? Bring all the documentation you have. Bank statements, emails, anything that shows what your husband has been doing. I'll be there. Simone hung up and began printing everything she had compiled during the night. The printer hummed, spitting out page after page of evidence. She organized it into folders, labeling each one clearly. Bank fraud. Email evidence. Credit card statements. Asset transfers. While the printer worked, she made herself coffee and forced herself to eat a piece of toast. She had to keep her strength up. She had to be sharp for this meeting. At 9, she showered and dressed in her best work suit. She looked at herself in the mirror again. This time she did not see a grieving woman. She saw someone ready for battle. Trevor had made a terrible mistake. He had betrayed her, stolen from her, humiliated her at her father's funeral. He had brought his mistress into her home, had his family treat her like dirt, had planned for months to destroy her financially and emotionally. But he had left evidence. He had been arrogant enough to think she would never look, would never question, would never fight back. He was about to learn that arrogance had a price. Patricia Holloway's office was on the 15th floor of a glass high-rise downtown. The reception area had cream-colored walls, leather furniture, and an enormous abstract painting that probably cost more than Simone's car. A receptionist with perfect makeup and a kind smile led Simone to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Patricia entered 5 minutes later. She was in her early 50s, with silver-streaked black hair pulled back in a neat bun, sharp eyes behind red-framed glasses, and a no-nonsense air that immediately put Simone at ease. She wore a charcoal suit and carried an iPad and a legal pad. Simone, Patricia said, extending her hand. Thank you for coming in on such short notice. I read the preliminary notes from our phone conversation. This sounds like a complicated situation. That's putting it mildly, Simone said. Let's start from the beginning. Tell me everything. For the next hour, Simone laid out the entire story. Her father's death, the funeral, Trevor bringing Vanessa, his family's betrayal. Then the confrontation, the revelation of a 3-year affair, Trevor moving out, his mother's phone call. Finally, she detailed what she had discovered in the financial documents and emails. Patricia listened without interrupting, taking notes on her legal pad. When Simone finished, Patricia sat back and removed her glasses, pinching the bridge of her nose. In 25 years of practicing family law, I have seen a lot of terrible behavior, Patricia said. But this ranks in the top 5. Maybe top 3. Can we do anything about it? He said his family has good lawyers. He said I shouldn't fight him. Patricia's expression hardened. He can have the best lawyers in the country. It won't matter. What he's done is not just morally reprehensible. It's legally actionable fraud. She pulled out her iPad and began making notes. Let's break this down. First, the affair itself isn't illegal, but it establishes character and intent. Second, the systematic theft from joint accounts is fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. Third, using your separate property, your mother's life insurance money, to purchase assets for his girlfriend is misappropriation of separate property. Fourth, convincing you to add his name to your premarital house deed under false pretenses is fraud in the inducement. What does all that mean? It means we're not just filing for divorce. We're filing for divorce with claims of fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, misappropriation of separate property, and we're asking the court to remove his name from your house deed. We're also going to request that he return every penny he stole, plus interest, plus damages for emotional distress. Simone felt hope rising in her chest for the first time in days. Can we really do that? Not only can we do it, we have an excellent chance of winning. The evidence you compiled is extraordinary. These emails alone prove intent and premeditation. The bank records show systematic theft. The timing, stealing from you while your father was dying, bringing his girlfriend to the funeral, establishes cruelty and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Patricia leaned forward, her eyes intense. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to file divorce papers tomorrow. Along with the divorce petition, we're filing for a restraining order preventing him from accessing any joint accounts or assets. We're filing a motion to freeze his business assets pending investigation. And we're going to send his family's lawyers documentation of every crime he committed. Crime? Can he go to jail? Possibly if we pursue criminal charges for fraud. But that's a separate issue. Right now, our focus is the divorce and asset recovery. I want you to walk away from this marriage with everything you're entitled to, plus compensation for what he stole. What about the house? The house was yours before marriage. He convinced you to add his name through deception, which means we can argue the deed transfer should be voided. Even if the court doesn't void it, he'll have to buy out your interest, which means he'll need to pay you fair market value for half the house. Given what I'm sure he's stolen, he won't be able to afford it. We'll force a sale or he'll have to sign the house back to you. Patricia pulled out a calculator and began running numbers based on the bank statements Simone brought. From what I can see, he stole approximately $115,000 from joint accounts. The car he bought for Vanessa was worth $30,000. The down payment on her condo was $45,000. That's $190,000 in direct theft and misappropriation. Then there are the credit card charges, the transfers to his family, the fake business accounts. We're looking at well over $250,000. Simone's head spun. I had no idea it was that much. Most victims don't until they really dig into the numbers. He was counting on that. He was counting on you not checking, not questioning, not fighting back. His mother told me to let him go gracefully. I'm sure she did. She was probably scared you'd do exactly what you're doing right now. Fighting back and documenting everything. Patricia smiled grimly. They made a mistake underestimating you. What do I need to do? First, close all joint accounts today. Open new accounts in your name only. Transfer your share of joint funds to your new accounts. I'll give you a letter to present to the bank stating you're in the process of divorce and need to protect your assets. Second, change all passwords on accounts where Trevor had access. Email, utilities, everything. Third, document any attempts he makes to contact you, threaten you, or harass you. Fourth, don't speak to him or his family without me present. All communication goes through attorneys from now on. Patricia handed Simone a business card. This is a forensic accountant I work with. She's going to go through all your financial records and track every dollar. Trevor opened fake business accounts. She'll find them. He transferred money to hidden accounts. She'll find them. By the time we're done, we'll know exactly where every penny went. What about Vanessa? Can we do anything about her? She received stolen property, but proving she knew it was stolen is difficult. However, we can subpoena her in the divorce proceedings. She'll have to testify about what Trevor gave her and when. She'll have to answer questions about whether she knew he was married, whether she knew where the money came from. It won't be pleasant for her. Patricia stood up. Simone, I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. Trevor is going to be furious when he gets served with divorce papers and asset freezes. His family is going to pressure you. Vanessa might try to contact you. You need to be prepared for them to fight dirty. I'm ready. Good. Because by the time we're done, Trevor is going to wish he had treated you with the respect you deserved. He's going to wish he had been honest. He's going to wish he had never thought he could steal from you and get away with it. Simone stood and shook Patricia's hand. When do we start? We already have. I'm filing papers this afternoon. By tomorrow morning, Trevor will be served. And then the real fight begins. As Simone left the office, she felt lighter than she had in days. She was not alone anymore. She had an attorney who believed her, who understood what Trevor had done, who was ready to fight for her. Trevor had thought he was so clever. He had thought he had planned everything perfectly. But he had made one fatal error. He had assumed Simone would stay broken. He had assumed grief and betrayal would make her weak. He had assumed she would give up without a fight. He was about to learn how wrong he was. The next morning, Simone was at work when her phone rang. The caller ID showed Trevor's number. She sent it to voicemail. Patricia had been clear, no direct contact. Everything went through attorneys. The phone rang again immediately. Another call from Trevor. Then another. Then a text. We need to talk. Now. He had been served. Simone silenced her phone and focused on her work. She was in the middle of a project presentation when her desk phone rang. Her assistant's voice came through, apologetic. Simone, I'm sorry, but there's a man here to see you. He says he's your husband. He seems very upset. Tell him I'm in a meeting and cannot be disturbed. If he refuses to leave, call building security. Understood. Simone continued her presentation, keeping her voice steady even as her heart raced. Her team reviewed the quarterly projections while Simone's mind raced through possible scenarios. Would Trevor make a scene? Would he try to force his way into the meeting? 20 minutes later, her assistant knocked and entered. He's gone. Security escorted him out. He said to tell you he'll be back later. After the meeting, Simone checked her phone. 15 missed calls from Trevor. 23 text messages. She scrolled through them. What the hell did you do? You froze my accounts? Are you insane? My lawyer says you filed fraud charges. You're going to regret this. Call me back now or I'm coming to your house. Mom says you're being vindictive. This is why we're divorcing. You're crazy. Then finally, I'm coming over tonight to get my things. Be there at 7. Simone forwarded all the messages to Patricia, who responded immediately, do not be alone with him. I'm filing for a restraining order now. Police will be there at 7 to supervise him collecting his belongings. At 6:30, Simone pulled into her driveway to find Trevor's car already parked on the street. He was sitting on her front porch steps, his face red with anger. She stayed in her car and called Patricia. He's already here, Simone said. Sitting on my porch. The police are on their way. Stay in your locked car until they arrive. Do not engage with him. Okay. Through the windshield, Simone watched Trevor stand up and walk toward her car. He looked terrible. His hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. He knocked on her window. Open the door, Simone. We need to talk. She shook her head and held up her phone, indicating she was on a call. Don't be ridiculous. Get out of the car. She stayed silent, watching him. Trevor's face darkened. You think you're so smart, don't you? Filing all these papers, making these accusations. My lawyer says it's all going to blow up in your face. You have no proof of anything. Simone almost laughed. No proof? She had emails, bank statements, credit card records, testimony from a forensic accountant. She had everything. Trevor pounded on the window. I'm not leaving until you talk to me. You can't hide forever. A police cruiser pulled up, lights flashing. 2 officers got out. Trevor stepped back from Simone's car, his expression shifting from anger to surprise. Sir, one officer said, we need you to step away from the vehicle. This is my wife. I have a right to talk to her. Sir, there's a restraining order being processed. You need to step back. A restraining order? For what? I didn't do anything. The second officer, a woman with gray hair and tired eyes, approached Simone's car. Simone rolled down the window. Are you Simone Foster? Yes. I'm Officer Martinez. We're here to supervise your husband collecting his personal belongings. The restraining order has been granted. He's not allowed within 500 feet of you or this property after tonight. Thank you. Officer Martinez gestured to Trevor. Sir, you have 1 hour to collect your personal items. Clothes, toiletries, personal effects only. No documents, no electronics, no furniture. Mrs. Foster will wait in her car while you pack. We'll supervise. Do you understand? Trevor's hands clenched into fists. This is insane. I paid for half of everything in that house. That's a civil matter for the courts to decide. Right now you have 1 hour. Do you want to use it or not? Trevor glared at Simone through the car window. This isn't over. You're going to regret this. Officer Martinez stepped between Trevor and the car. Sir, that sounds like a threat. Would you like to rephrase? Trevor took a breath, visibly trying to control himself. I meant legally. This will be handled in court. That's better. Now let's go inside. Simone unlocked the house remotely using an app on her phone. Trevor and the 2 officers entered. Through her rearview mirror, Simone could see lights turning on in the house. She sat in the car watching the windows while Trevor moved from room to room. Her phone rang. Trevor's mother. Simone answered. Hello. What have you done? Trevor's mother's voice was shrill with fury. Police? A restraining order? Have you lost your mind? He stole money from me. Over $200,000. The police are there to make sure he only takes what belongs to him. That money belonged to both of you. You're married. Actually, most of it was mine from before the marriage. He stole it. He spent it on his girlfriend. Vanessa is a lovely girl from a good family. You need to accept that Trevor has moved on. I have accepted it. That's why I filed for divorce. You don't need to destroy him in the process. Just sign the papers, take your half, and let him rebuild his life with Vanessa. My half. He wants half of my house that I owned before marriage. Half of my mother's life insurance money that he already stole. Half of everything I've worked for while he was spending my money on another woman. That's not happening. You're being vindictive and petty. This is exactly why Trevor needed to find someone better. Simone's patience snapped. Someone better? Your son is a thief and a liar. He planned this betrayal for years. He involved you and his sisters in the planning. You all knew what he was doing and you helped him. That makes you complicit. How dare you? I have the emails. Between Trevor and you. Between Trevor and Vanessa. I have everything. My lawyer is compiling it all for court. So when you testify under oath about what you knew and when you knew it, remember that perjury is a crime. There was silence on the line. Then, you have emails? Every single one. Including the ones where Trevor talks about his exit strategy, and you advise him to wait until he can secure more of my assets before divorcing me. Including the ones where you discuss bringing Vanessa to the funeral specifically to humiliate me. Those emails are private. They're evidence. And they're going to be submitted to the court. So I suggest you get your own lawyer. Because if my attorney decides to pursue civil charges against you for conspiracy to commit fraud, you're going to need representation. Simone hung up. Her hands were shaking, but it felt good. Standing up to Trevor's mother felt like releasing pressure that had been building for years. Through the house windows, she saw Trevor coming down the stairs with suitcases. The officers followed him, one carrying a box. They loaded everything into Trevor's car trunk. Officer Martinez walked back to Simone's window. He's done. We're making sure he leaves the property. The restraining order goes into effect immediately. If he contacts you, violates the 500-foot boundary, or attempts to access the property, call 911 immediately. Here's the case number for your records. Thank you. Ma'am, I saw the documentation that was filed with the restraining order. I just want to say, what he did was terrible. I'm glad you're fighting back. Too many people don't. The officer's kindness made Simone's eyes sting with unexpected tears. Thank you. That means a lot. Trevor's car peeled out of the driveway with a screech of tires. The police cruiser followed him to make sure he left the area. Simone sat in her car for another 5 minutes, steadying her breathing before she felt ready to go inside. The house felt different. Emptier but cleaner somehow. Trevor had taken his clothes from the closet, his toiletries from the bathroom, his laptop and phone chargers. All the little signs that he had lived here were gone. Simone walked through each room, checking what remained. Trevor had tried to take a few things that weren't his. A leather jacket she had bought him for Christmas, an expensive watch that had been a gift from her father. But the officers had made him leave those behind. In the bedroom, Simone opened the closet. Her clothes hung alone now, with empty space where Trevor's had been. She touched one of her dresses, remembering when she had worn it to a work event. Trevor had barely looked at her that night, too busy on his phone. Probably texting Vanessa. How had she not seen it? Looking back, the signs were everywhere. The late nights, the constant phone checking, the emotional distance. But she had trusted him. She had believed him when he said he was working hard to build his business. She had believed him when he said he loved her. That trust had been betrayed in the worst possible way. Simone's phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Officers confirmed restraining order service. Trevor's attorney called my office. He's very upset. They want to negotiate. I told them to submit their settlement proposal in writing. You should prepare for them to offer a deal. What kind of deal? Simone typed back. Probably offering to return some money in exchange for dropping fraud charges. Don't worry. We're not accepting any deal that doesn't give you everything you're owed plus damages. This is just them panicking. Good, Simone thought. Let them panic. Let Trevor lose sleep wondering how much of his theft would be exposed in court. Let Vanessa worry about being subpoenaed to testify about all the stolen money she received. Let Trevor's mother stress about those emails being read in open court. They had planned this betrayal carefully. They had thought they were so clever. But they had left a trail of evidence that would destroy them. And Simone was going to make sure they faced every consequence they deserved. The next 2 weeks were a blur of legal meetings, depositions, and paperwork. Patricia's forensic accountant, a sharp woman named Rita, uncovered even more theft than they had initially discovered. Trevor had opened accounts using fake business names, had taken out credit cards in those business names, and had even forged Simone's signature on several documents. This isn't just financial infidelity, Rita explained during a meeting at Patricia's office. This is organized fraud. He created an entire shadow financial system to hide what he was doing. Rita spread out documents across the conference table. Look at this. He opened an LLC called Cascade Investments, naming himself and his mother as partners. He used that LLC to funnel money from your joint account. Then he used that money to make the down payment on Vanessa's condo, but he listed the LLC as the investor, not himself. He was trying to hide the asset trail. Can we prove he used my money? Simone asked. Absolutely. The money trail is clear. Withdrawals from your joint account go directly to Cascade Investments. From there, it goes to the condo purchase. It's all documented. Rita pulled up a spreadsheet on her laptop. In total, we've documented $283,000 in theft, fraud, and misappropriation of separate property. Simone felt sick. Almost $300,000. Her mother had died and left her that life insurance money so Simone would be secure. Her father had added to her savings over the years, giving her what he could spare. She had worked hard and saved carefully. And Trevor had stolen it all to build a life with another woman. What about his business? Patricia asked. The consulting firm he claims to run? It exists on paper, but there's minimal legitimate business activity. Most of the income listed comes from fake contracts. He was essentially using the business as a money laundering operation. Rita pulled up more documents. Here's where it gets interesting. He took out business loans using false financial statements. He inflated the business's income and assets to qualify for the loans. That's bank fraud. Can he go to jail for that? Simone asked. Potentially, yes. But that would be a criminal case which is separate from your divorce. Right now, our focus is on getting you restitution in civil court. Once that's secured, you could pursue criminal charges if you wanted. Patricia made notes on her legal pad. Let's focus on the civil case first. We have enough evidence to prove fraud, theft, and breach of fiduciary duty. The judge will order him to return everything he stole plus interest and damages. That's our priority. 3 days later, Simone was at work when her assistant buzzed her. Simone, there's a woman here to see you. She says it's urgent. She says her name is Cheryl Foster, Trevor's mother. Using her married name even though Simone had never taken Trevor's last name. Tell her I'm unavailable and she needs to leave, Simone said. I did. She says she's not leaving until she talks to you. Simone sighed and closed her laptop. Call security and have them escort her out. If she refuses, they can call the police. Understood. Simone tried to focus on her work, but 5 minutes later, raised voices echoed from the reception area. She stood up and walked to her office door. In the waiting area, Trevor's mother was arguing with a security guard. I have a right to talk to her, Cheryl shouted. This is a family matter. Ma'am, you need to leave. This is a place of business. I'm not leaving until that vindictive woman talks to me. Several of Simone's co-workers had emerged from their offices, watching the scene. Simone's face burned with embarrassment, but she kept her voice calm and professional. Cheryl, you need to leave. We have nothing to discuss. Cheryl whirled around, her face red. You're ruining my son's life. Do you understand that? He can't access his accounts. His business is frozen. His credit cards are blocked. All because you can't accept that your marriage is over. No, Simone said evenly. All because he stole money from me. If you want to discuss legal matters, have your attorney contact mine. Otherwise, you need to leave before I have you arrested for trespassing. Arrested? You're threatening me now. I'm informing you of the law. This is private property. You've been asked to leave. If you refuse, that's trespassing. The security guard took Cheryl's arm. Ma'am, let's go. Cheryl jerked her arm away. This isn't over, Simone. My family has resources. We have connections. You think your little lawyer can fight us? We'll destroy you. That sounds like a threat, said a voice from behind Simone. Her boss, James, had emerged from his office. He was a tall man in his 60s with gray hair and a commanding presence. Ma'am, I'm the director of this department. You're disrupting our workplace and threatening one of my employees. Security, please escort her out immediately. If she returns, we'll file for a restraining order. The security guard, now joined by a second guard, firmly guided Cheryl toward the elevators. She continued shouting threats and accusations until the elevator doors closed. James turned to Simone. Are you okay? I'm so sorry about that. She's my soon-to-be ex-husband's mother. I'm in the middle of a difficult divorce. I gathered that. James gestured to his office. Do you have a minute? In James's office, Simone explained the basic situation. The affair, the theft, the divorce proceedings. James listened without interrupting. I'm sorry you're going through this, he said when she finished. "But I want you to know that the way you handled that situation just now was impressive. You stayed calm, professional, and firm. Those are exactly the qualities we need in leadership." "Thank you. I just wanted to minimize the disruption." "You did more than that. You demonstrated grace under pressure." James pulled out a folder from his desk. "I've been meaning to talk to you about this. We're creating a new senior project manager position. The role would involve leading our largest client accounts and mentoring junior project managers. It comes with a significant salary increase and better benefits. I'd like to offer it to you." Simone stared at him, shocked. "Really? Really? You've been exceeding expectations for 2 years now. The clients love you. Your team respects you. And watching you handle that confrontation just now confirmed what I already knew. You're ready for more responsibility." I don't know what to say." "Say yes. You'll need to think about it, of course. We can discuss details later this week. But I wanted you to know that your hard work hasn't gone unnoticed. Whatever you're dealing with in your personal life, don't let it make you doubt your professional value." After the meeting, Simone returned to her office and closed the door. She sat at her desk, overwhelmed. A promotion. In the middle of the worst period of her life, someone recognized her worth. Someone saw her working hard and wanted to reward her for it. It was the opposite of how Trevor had treated her. He had taken and taken, never acknowledging what she contributed, never appreciating her efforts. He had stolen from her and planned to destroy her. But here was proof that she had value beyond what Trevor had made her believe. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Simone, this is Vanessa. We need to talk. Please." Simone deleted the message without responding. She had no interest in talking to Trevor's mistress. Whatever Vanessa wanted to say, Simone did not want to hear it. 10 minutes later, another text from the same number. "Please. Trevor moved into my condo and now his assets are frozen. I can't afford the mortgage on my own. He said you would help because you're a decent person." Simone almost laughed. Help? She was supposed to help the woman who had been sleeping with her husband for 3 years? The woman who received stolen money and gifts and lived a luxury lifestyle funded by Simone's inheritance? She blocked the number. That evening, Patricia called. "I have news. Trevor's attorney submitted a settlement proposal. They're offering to return $100,000 and agree to remove Trevor's name from your house deed in exchange for you dropping the fraud charges and agreeing to a simple no-fault divorce. That's not even half of what he stole." "I know. I already told them the offer is insulting and we're proceeding with the full case. But I wanted you to know they're scared. They wouldn't be offering anything if they weren't worried about what will come out in court." "Good. Let them be worried. There's something else. Trevor's mother contacted my office. She wants to meet with me. She says she has information that might help facilitate a settlement." "What kind of information?" "She wouldn't say over the phone. But my guess is she's trying to negotiate immunity for herself. If she testifies against Trevor about what she knew and when, she might avoid being named in a civil conspiracy case." "Would that help our case?" "It could. If she admits she knew Trevor was stealing from you and advised him to continue, that's powerful testimony. It shows premeditation and conspiracy. But I want to know how you feel about it. She was part of the betrayal. Would you be comfortable with her cutting a deal?" Simone thought about it. Trevor's mother had been cruel at the funeral. She had encouraged Trevor's affair. She had helped him plan the theft. But if her testimony could ensure Trevor faced full consequences, maybe it was worth it. "Yes," Simone said. "If she can help us prove what Trevor did, I'll accept her testimony." "Understood. I'll meet with her tomorrow and report back." That night, Simone lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The house felt too quiet without Trevor, but it also felt cleaner, like a wound that was finally healing. She thought about her father, wished she could tell him about everything that had happened. He would have been furious about Trevor's betrayal. But he also would have been proud of how Simone was fighting back. "I'm not letting them win, Dad," she whispered to the empty room. "I promise you that." The divorce hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in late October. Simone dressed in a navy suit and pearl earrings, her hair pulled back in a professional bun. Patricia met her outside the courthouse. "Trevor's attorney called my office twice yesterday trying to negotiate a better settlement," Patricia said as they walked up the courthouse steps. "I told them we're not interested. We're going to trial." "Is Trevor here?" "He's required to be. Along with his attorney, Mark Brennan. Brennan is good, but he doesn't have much to work with. The evidence against Trevor is overwhelming." In the courtroom, Simone took her seat at the plaintiff's table. Across the aisle, Trevor sat with his attorney. He looked terrible. He had lost weight, his suit hung loosely on him and his face was drawn and pale. He glanced at Simone once, then quickly looked away. Judge Helen Martinez entered, a stern woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had a reputation for not tolerating nonsense in her courtroom. "This is a dissolution of marriage hearing for Foster versus Foster," Judge Martinez said. "I've reviewed the preliminary filings. This appears to be a complicated case involving allegations of fraud and theft. Let's proceed." Patricia stood. "Your Honor, we're requesting a full hearing on multiple issues. First, the dissolution of marriage. Second, restitution for fraud and theft totaling $283,000. Third, removal of the respondent's name from the petitioner's premarital property deed. Fourth, damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress." "That's quite a list," Judge Martinez said. "Mr. Brennan, your response?" Trevor's attorney stood. He was a distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit. "Your Honor, we contest all of these claims. This is a simple no-fault divorce case being complicated by a vindictive spouse who cannot accept the end of the marriage. There is no proof of fraud or theft. The funds in question came from joint accounts that both parties had equal right to access." "I've reviewed the evidence submitted by Ms. Holloway," Judge Martinez said. "It appears quite extensive. Bank records, emails, testimony from a forensic accountant. Are you saying all of that is fabricated?" "Not fabricated, Your Honor, but mischaracterized. Mr. Foster used marital funds for legitimate business purposes. The fact that the business was not successful does not constitute theft." "Let's hear the evidence," Judge Martinez said. "Ms. Holloway, call your first witness." Patricia called Rita, the forensic accountant. Rita took the stand and methodically explained the financial evidence. She showed bank statements, traced money transfers, explained the fake business accounts. She demonstrated how Trevor had systematically moved money from joint accounts to accounts Simone could not access, then used that money to purchase assets for Vanessa. "And you're certain this money came from Mrs. Foster's separate property?" Patricia asked. "Absolutely certain. I traced the deposits. The initial funds came from life insurance payouts after Mrs. Foster's mother died, and from inheritance when Mrs. Foster's grandmother passed away. These were deposited into individual accounts in Mrs. Foster's name only. She then transferred some of those funds into joint accounts for household expenses. Mr. Foster then moved money from those joint accounts into accounts Mrs. Foster did not know existed." "How much total?" $283,000. A murmur went through the courtroom. Trevor's face turned red. "Your Honor," Mr. Brennan objected, "this testimony is speculation. My client had legitimate business expenses." "Your client can testify to that," Judge Martinez said. "Continue, Ms. Holloway." Patricia called her next witness, Simone. Taking the stand felt surreal. Patricia asked about her marriage, her father's death, the funeral. Simone kept her voice steady as she described Trevor bringing Vanessa, his family's treatment of her, the confrontation afterward. "When did you first learn about the affair?" "The day of my father's funeral. Trevor told me he had been with Vanessa for 3 years and that his family knew and approved." "And when did you discover the financial fraud?" "That night. I couldn't sleep, so I started going through our accounts. That's when I saw all the transfers I didn't recognize." "What was your reaction?" "Shock. Then betrayal. Then anger. He had stolen money my mother left me. Money my grandmother left me. Money I had saved. All to fund a life with another woman while lying to me about working hard to build a business." Patricia pulled up emails on the courtroom display screen. "Your Honor, these are emails between Mr. Foster and the other woman, Vanessa Reese. In this one, dated February 3rd of last year, Mr. Foster writes, 'I bought you the car with money from our joint account.' Simone doesn't check the statements closely, so she won't notice. Do you see that, Mrs. Foster?" Simone nodded, fighting back tears. Seeing those emails on a big screen in open court made the betrayal feel fresh again. And in this email from Mr. Foster to his mother, dated June 6th of the same year, he writes, "I'm slowly transferring Simone's inheritance money to accounts she can't access. By the time we divorce, I'll have secured most of it." "Did you know any of this was happening?" "No. I trusted him completely." Mr. Brennan's cross-examination was brief. He tried to suggest Simone had known about the transfers and only objected after discovering the affair, but Simone held firm. She had not known. She had trusted her husband. That trust had been abused. Patricia called one more witness, Trevor's mother, Cheryl. She took the stand reluctantly, avoiding eye contact with Trevor. Patricia had clearly made a deal with Cheryl. In exchange for truthful testimony, they would not pursue civil charges against her for conspiracy. Mrs. Foster, Patricia said, when did you first learn about your son's affair with Vanessa Reese? About 3 years ago. Trevor brought her to a family dinner and told us he was seeing her seriously. And he was married to Simone at that time? Yes. What was your reaction? Cheryl hesitated. I thought Vanessa was more suitable for Trevor. She comes from a similar background. She has family connections that could help his business. Did you encourage the relationship? I told him he should be happy. Mrs. Foster, let me be more specific. Did you advise your son to continue the affair and to transfer assets before divorcing Simone? A long pause. Cheryl looked at Trevor, who stared at her with horror and fury. Yes, she finally said. I told him to be smart about it. To secure what he could before filing for divorce. Did you know he was using Simone's inheritance money to support Vanessa? I knew he was spending money on Vanessa. I assumed it was from his business. But you received emails from Trevor detailing where the money came from. Correct. Yes. And you never told Simone? No. Why not? Because I wanted my son to be happy with someone I thought was right for him. Judge Martinez leaned forward. Mrs. Foster, you knew your son was stealing from his wife and you said nothing? Yes, Your Honor. You understand that makes you complicit in fraud? Yes, Your Honor. That's why I'm testifying now. I'm trying to make it right. A little late for that, Judge Martinez said coldly. When Trevor took the stand, he tried to defend his actions. He claimed the money he transferred was for legitimate business investments. He claimed he had always planned to pay Simone back. He claimed the affair was a result of marital problems, not the cause. But Patricia systematically destroyed each claim with evidence. Bank records that showed fake business accounts. Emails where Trevor admitted stealing. Testimony proving the marriage had been fine until Simone discovered the truth. By the time testimony concluded, Trevor looked defeated. His attorney had nothing left to argue. Judge Martinez called a recess and asked both attorneys to approach the bench. They spoke in low voices for several minutes. When they returned, Patricia was smiling. I've reviewed all the evidence, Judge Martinez announced. This is one of the clearest cases of financial fraud I've seen in my 20 years on the bench. Mr. Foster systematically stole from Mrs. Foster, used those funds to support an extramarital affair, and involved his family in a conspiracy to hide his actions. Trevor's face went white. Here is my ruling. First, the marriage is dissolved effective immediately. Second, Mr. Foster will pay Mrs. Foster restitution of $283,000 plus interest calculated from the date of each theft. Third, Mr. Foster's name will be removed from the deed to Mrs. Foster's premarital home. Fourth, Mr. Foster will pay Mrs. Foster $57,000 in damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Your Honor, Mr. Brennan stood. My client doesn't have access to those funds. His accounts are frozen. Then he'll have to liquidate assets to pay restitution. His business assets, his car, whatever he owns. I'm ordering immediate asset seizure to satisfy the judgment. If Mr. Foster cannot pay the full amount within 90 days, we'll pursue wage garnishment. Your Honor, that will destroy his business. He should have thought about that before committing fraud. Anything else? No, Your Honor. Then we're adjourned. Patricia turned to Simone with a wide smile. We won. Everything. Simone felt tears sliding down her cheeks, but they were tears of relief and vindication. Trevor had stolen from her, betrayed her, humiliated her. And now he was being held accountable. Across the courtroom, Trevor sat with his head in his hands. His attorney was packing up documents, already planning his exit. Cheryl tried to approach Trevor, but he turned away from her, his face twisted with anger. Outside the courthouse, Patricia and Simone stood on the steps in the autumn sunshine. What happens now? Simone asked. Now Trevor has 90 days to pay you $340,000. If he can't, his assets will be seized and sold. His business will be liquidated. He'll probably have to declare bankruptcy. But you'll get your money back one way or another. What about criminal charges? That's up to you. We have enough evidence to file a criminal complaint for fraud. He could face jail time. But that's a separate decision. You don't have to make it today. Simone thought about it. Part of her wanted Trevor to go to jail for what he did. But another part of her just wanted to move on, to focus on rebuilding her life. I'll think about it, she said. Patricia squeezed her hand. Whatever you decide, you should be proud of yourself. You fought back when a lot of people would have given up. You demanded justice and you got it. That takes real strength. As Simone walked to her car, she felt lighter than she had in months. Trevor had tried to destroy her. He had stolen her money, betrayed her trust, humiliated her at her father's funeral. But she had not let him win. She had fought back and she had won. The divorce was final. The judgment was clear. Trevor would pay for what he did. And Simone could finally start healing. 3 weeks after the court hearing, Simone signed the paperwork accepting the promotion to senior project manager. Her new office had windows overlooking the city, a larger desk, and a sense of possibility that made her smile every time she walked through the door. "Congratulations again," James said, shaking her hand on her first official day in the new role. "Your first assignment is the Hartwell account. They're a major client, demanding, but they specifically requested you after seeing your work on the Patterson project. I won't let you down. I know you won't. That's why I promoted you." Simone threw herself into work with renewed energy. The Hartwell account was challenging, involving coordinating teams across 3 states, but she loved it. She loved having something concrete to focus on, loved solving problems, loved seeing her efforts produce results. Her team respected her. Her clients trusted her. Her colleagues congratulated her on the promotion. It was everything her marriage had not been: recognition, appreciation, mutual respect. One afternoon, Brielle called. They had not spoken much during the worst of the divorce proceedings, but Brielle had checked in regularly. "I have someone I want you to meet," Brielle said. "My friend Tanya runs a network for women entrepreneurs. She hosts monthly dinners where women can connect, share ideas, mentor each other. I think you'd be perfect for the group." "I don't know. I'm not an entrepreneur. Not yet. But I know you, Simone. You've always talked about starting your own consulting firm someday. Maybe this is the time." "Maybe. But right now I'm focused on my job. Just come to one dinner. If you hate it, you never have to come back. But I think you'll love it." The dinner was at an upscale restaurant downtown. 12 women sat around a long table, ranging in age from late 20s to early 60s. They owned businesses in industries from tech to fashion to consulting. They talked about challenges and victories, shared contacts and advice, laughed and encouraged each other. Simone felt at home immediately. "So what do you do?" asked Tanya, the group's organizer, a striking woman in her 40s with natural hair and smart eyes. "I'm a project manager. Recently promoted to senior PM. And what would you do if you could do anything?" "I'd start my own consulting firm. Help businesses improve their project management systems. Train their teams. Optimize their workflows." "Why don't you?" I don't know. It seems like a big risk." "Everything worth doing is a risk," Tanya said. "But you're in a good position. You have experience, expertise, and from what Brielle tells me, you've proven you can handle adversity. That's exactly the foundation you need to build a business." "She's right," said another woman, Natasha, who owned a marketing firm. "The best time to start is when you're strong. When you're scared and trying to prove yourself. It makes you hungry." Over dessert, the women shared stories of their own entrepreneurial journeys. Failures and successes, setbacks and breakthroughs. By the end of the evening, Simone felt inspired rather than intimidated. "Think about it," Tanya said as they left. "And if you decide to do it, we're here to help. That's what this network is for." At home that night, Simone opened her laptop and started researching what it would take to start a consulting firm. She made lists of potential clients, drafted service offerings, calculated startup costs. The more she planned, the more excited she became. This was something she could build herself. Something Trevor could not touch or steal or ruin. Something entirely hers. Meanwhile, the court's judgment against Trevor was being enforced. Patricia called with updates. "The business assets have been seized and are being liquidated," Patricia reported. "That should cover about $120,000 of what he owes you. The rest will come from wage garnishment once he finds employment again. Has he tried to contact you about a payment plan?" His attorney submitted a request for extended payment terms. I told them no. The judge's order was clear: 90 days. We're not making it easier for him. Good. There's something else. Vanessa Reese called my office. She wants to know if you would be willing to let Trevor out of the restitution in exchange for him signing over his interest in her condo. Simone laughed. "Let me guess. She can't afford the mortgage on her own and wants me to forgive his debt so he can help her pay it. Something like that." "No. He bought that condo with my stolen money. I'm not helping either of them." That's what I told her. She didn't take it well. Simone felt zero sympathy. Vanessa had knowingly accepted gifts bought with stolen money. She had benefited from Trevor's betrayal. Whatever financial problems she faced now were consequences of her own choices. 2 months after the court hearing, Simone received notification that Trevor had paid $150,000 of the restitution from the liquidation of his business assets and personal property. The remaining balance would be paid through wage garnishment. He had tried calling her several times, always from new numbers. She never answered. He sent emails asking if they could meet to discuss things as adults. She deleted them without responding. He had Vanessa call Patricia's office asking if Simone would consider giving him business advice since she's doing so well. Patricia's response had been, "My client has no interest in helping the man who stole from her." One evening in early December, Simone sat at her kitchen table with spreadsheets and legal documents spread in front of her. She was finalizing the business plan for her consulting firm, Foster Consulting Solutions. She had saved enough to cover startup costs. She had lined up 3 potential clients. She was ready. Her phone rang. "Brielle. Hey, are you busy? I'm having a little holiday party at my place. Just a few people from the entrepreneur network. Tanya suggested I invite you. I'm in the middle of finalizing my business plan." "Perfect. Bring it. Everyone would love to look at it and give feedback." At Brielle's apartment, the party was warm and lively. Simone shared her business plan with the group, and they spent an hour giving suggestions, sharing contacts, offering encouragement. "You should launch in January," Tanya said. "New year, new business. Fresh start. That's less than a month away." "Exactly. You've been planning for 2 months. You're ready. Stop overthinking it." Natasha, the marketing consultant, offered to help with branding and website design at a discount. Another woman in the group, Rachel, who owned a staffing firm, offered to help Simone find contractors if she needed to bring in additional help for projects. "This is what we do," Tanya explained. "We support each other. Your success is our success." By the end of the evening, Simone had a launch plan, a support network, and a growing sense of excitement. She was really doing this. She was starting her own business. In the car driving home, she thought about her father. He would have been so proud. He had always encouraged her to dream big, to take risks, to believe in herself. And he would have been proud of how she handled Trevor's betrayal, not with weakness or forgiveness, but with strength and justice. "I'm doing it, Dad," she said aloud to the empty car. "I'm building something good. Something that's all mine." When she got home, she found an envelope in her mailbox. No return address. Inside was a check for $15,000 and a note in Trevor's handwriting. "This is a partial payment toward what I owe you. I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive me. I've lost everything. My business, my family, even Vanessa. She left when the money ran out. I just want you to know that I realize now what I had with you, and I'm sorry I threw it away." Simone tore up the note and deposited the check. She did not care about Trevor's regrets. She did not care that Vanessa left him. She did not care that he had lost everything. He had made his choices. Now he had to live with the consequences. And Simone had her own life to build. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Simone's consulting firm was thriving. Foster Consulting Solutions had secured 8 clients, hired 2 independent contractors to help with overflow work, and was already being featured in a local business magazine as one of the startups to watch. Simone rented a small office in a co-working space downtown. It had a glass-walled conference room, a standing desk where she could work, and a city view that reminded her every day how far she had come. The walls were decorated with her business license, framed magazine article, and a photo of her father. "He'd be so proud," Brielle said during a visit to see the new office. "Look at everything you've built." "I wish he could see it." "I think he can. And I think he knows that his strength lives on in you." One afternoon, Simone was meeting with a potential new client when her phone rang. She sent it to voicemail, but a minute later it rang again. Same number. She glanced at the screen, Tanya from the Entrepreneur Network. "I'm so sorry," Simone told her client. "Let me just make sure everything is okay." "Of course." Simone stepped into the hallway and answered. "Tanya? Is everything all right?" "Everything is perfect. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to tell you the news immediately. You know how I mentioned submitting your firm for the Emerging Entrepreneur Award?" "Yes. You won. You're receiving the award at the Chamber of Commerce Gala next month." Simone leaned against the wall, stunned. "I won." The selection committee was unanimous. Your business growth, your personal story of overcoming adversity, your commitment to ethical business practices, they loved everything about you. After hanging up, Simone stood in the hallway for a moment, letting the news sink in. An award. Recognition for her work, her resilience, her success. It felt like validation for every difficult decision she had made, every night she had worked late, every moment she had chosen to fight rather than give up. Through mutual acquaintances, Simone occasionally heard updates about Trevor. His business had completely collapsed after the court seizure. He had taken a job as a sales associate at a mid-level firm, making a fraction of what he used to earn. Most of that salary was garnished for restitution payments. Vanessa had broken up with him a week after his assets were frozen. She had immediately started dating someone else, a man who actually had money. Trevor had tried to maintain contact with his mother and sisters, but they had distanced themselves from him after learning he had also taken money from them, promising to invest it but actually spending it on Vanessa. The fake investment scheme came to light during the court proceedings. Trevor had borrowed money from his mother, sisters, and several family friends, claiming he was investing in his business. In reality, he had used that money to maintain his lifestyle with Vanessa. Those people were now pursuing their own civil cases against him. He's basically broke and friendless, Brielle reported after running into someone who knew Trevor's family. Even his family won't talk to him. They feel betrayed just like you do. Good, Simone said simply. She felt no sympathy. Trevor had built a house of lies and theft, and now that house had collapsed on him. That was justice. One evening, Simone was working late at her office when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Simone, this is Trevor. I know you blocked me, but I got a new number. Please, I really need your help. I'm drowning here. Can we meet for coffee? Just to talk. Simone stared at the message for a long moment. Then she blocked the number and went back to work. An hour later, another text from yet another number. Please. I know I have no right to ask, but you were always the smartest person I knew when it came to business. I need advice on rebuilding my career. Just an hour of your time. I'll pay you a consulting fee. Simone blocked that number too. The messages continued sporadically over the next week. Always from new numbers. Always asking for help, for advice, for a meeting. Sometimes Trevor tried guilt. After 4 years of marriage, don't I deserve at least a conversation? Sometimes he tried flattery. You're so successful now. You could really help me turn things around. Simone never responded. She blocked every number and deleted every message without reading them completely. Patricia called to inform her that Trevor had requested a modification of the restitution payment plan, claiming financial hardship. I told the court that your ex-husband's financial hardship is entirely of his own making, Patricia said. The judge denied the request. The garnishment continues as ordered. Thank you. There's one more thing. I received a letter from Trevor's attorney asking if he would consider writing a character reference for Trevor to help him in his job search. Apparently, employers are asking about his legal history and he needs someone to vouch for him. Simone almost laughed. Are they serious? Unfortunately, yes. My answer is no. Absolutely not. I didn't think you'd agree, but I had to ask. I'll send a formal decline. The absurdity of the request stayed with Simone for days. Trevor had stolen from her, betrayed her, humiliated her, and now he wanted her to help him rebuild his career? The audacity was breathtaking. But it also showed how desperate he had become. He had destroyed his own life through greed and arrogance, and now he was scrambling for any lifeline, even from the woman he had victimized. At the Entrepreneur Network meeting that month, Simone shared the story of Trevor's requests for help. The women reacted with a mixture of outrage and dark humor. The nerve of that man, Natasha said, shaking her head. He steals from you and then asks you to help him? Some people truly believe the world owes them everything, Tanya added. They can't conceive that their actions have permanent consequences. What did you tell him? Rachel asked. Nothing. I didn't respond. I just blocked him and moved on. Good. He doesn't deserve your energy, your time, or your help. The conversation shifted to discussing Simone's award and the upcoming gala. Tanya was helping her prepare an acceptance speech. Natasha was advising on what to wear. The group's support and excitement made Simone feel valued in a way her marriage never had. These women celebrated her successes. They offered help without expecting anything in return. They built each other up instead of tearing each other down. This was what real support looked like. This was what healthy relationships looked like. The night of the Chamber of Commerce gala, Simone wore a midnight blue gown and her mother's pearls. Brielle accompanied her as her guest. The ballroom was filled with business leaders, entrepreneurs, and city officials. When they announced Simone's name for the Emerging Entrepreneur Award, she walked to the podium with her head high. She accepted the crystal trophy and stood at the microphone, looking out at the crowd. "Thank you for this honor," she began. "A year ago I was at the lowest point of my life. I had just lost my father. My marriage had ended in betrayal. I felt broken and defeated. But I had a choice: stay broken or rebuild. I chose to rebuild." She talked about starting her consulting firm, about the women who had supported her, about the importance of resilience and integrity in business. She did not mention Trevor by name, but she spoke about the importance of ethical business practices and treating people with honesty and respect. "Success built on lies and theft is not success," she said. "It's a house of cards that will eventually collapse. Real success comes from hard work, integrity, and treating people right. That's what I've tried to build with my company, and that's what I'll continue to build going forward." The applause was thunderous. As Simone walked back to her table with the trophy, she felt her father's presence, felt his pride, felt his love. She had not just survived. She had thrived. She had taken the worst betrayal of her life and turned it into fuel for building something better. Something honest. Something entirely hers. And that was the sweetest justice of all. 1 year after her father's funeral, Simone returned to the cemetery on a bright May morning. The grass was green and lush, and flowers bloomed along the walking paths. She carried a bouquet of yellow roses, her father's favorite, and walked slowly to his grave. The headstone was simple granite with his name and dates, "Loving father and friend." Simone knelt and arranged the roses in the built-in vase. Then she sat cross-legged on the grass, like she used to do as a child when her father took her to the park. "Hey Dad," she said quietly. "I'm sorry it's been a while. I've been busy." A bird sang in the oak tree nearby. The morning sun warmed her face. "You probably know everything that's happened," Simone continued. "But I want to tell you anyway. Trevor's gone. The divorce is final. He tried to destroy me, but he failed. I got the house back. I got the money back. And I built something new, something that's all mine." She pulled out her phone and showed the screen to the headstone as if her father could see it. "Foster Consulting Solutions. I named it after you. After us. Because everything I am, everything I built, comes from you. From the strength you showed raising me alone. From the values you taught me. From the love you gave me." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but they were not only tears of grief. They were also tears of gratitude and pride. "The business is growing. We have 15 clients now. I hired 3 full-time employees. We're moving to a bigger office next month." She laughed softly. "I never thought I could do this. Build something from nothing. But you always knew I could. You always believed in me." A breeze rustled through the oak tree, and Simone imagined it was her father's way of answering. "I started a scholarship fund too. In your name. For students who lost a parent. Because I know how hard it is. How much it hurts. How lost you feel. I want to help kids like me. Kids who are trying to build a future while carrying the weight of loss." She wiped her tears and smiled. The first scholarship was awarded last week. To a girl named LaShonda. She lost her mom to cancer. She wants to be a teacher. "Dad, when I met her and saw how much it meant to her to have this support, I felt you there. I felt you smiling." Simone stood and brushed grass from her dress. "I brought you something else." From her bag she pulled out a framed photo. It was the magazine article featuring Foster Consulting Solutions, with her photo and the headline "Rising Star: How One Woman Turned Tragedy into Triumph." She propped it against the headstone. "I wanted you to see it. To know that your daughter is okay. Better than okay. I'm thriving." She stood there for a few more minutes, her hand resting on the top of the headstone. Then she kissed her fingers and pressed them to her father's name. "I love you, Dad. I'll be back soon." That evening, Simone attended a charity gala for the scholarship fund. The ballroom was decorated in gold and white, with tables full of donors and supporters. Brielle was there, along with Tanya, Natasha, and several other women from the Entrepreneur Network. "You look amazing," Brielle said, admiring Simone's emerald green gown. "And happy. Genuinely happy." "I am," Simone said, and she meant it. During the cocktail hour, a man approached her. He was tall, with kind brown eyes and an easy smile. "Simone Foster?" "Yes. I'm Anthony Richardson. I'm an architect. My firm donated to your scholarship fund, and I wanted to meet the woman behind such a meaningful cause." They talked for 20 minutes, discovering they both loved old movies, both ran for exercise, both had lost a parent young. Anthony was genuine and kind, asking questions and listening to her answers instead of dominating the conversation. When the dinner portion of the evening began, he asked if he could sit at her table. "I'd like that," Simone said. Over dinner they talked more. Anthony had started his own architecture firm 5 years ago. He understood the challenges and rewards of entrepreneurship. He asked about her business, her plans for growth, her vision for the scholarship fund. He treated her with respect and genuine interest. When the evening ended, Anthony asked if he could call her sometime. Maybe we could get coffee, he suggested. Or if you prefer, we could go see one of those old movies you mentioned loving. Simone smiled. Coffee sounds good. Let me give you my number. As she drove home that night, Simone thought about how much had changed in 1 year. She had lost her father. She had discovered her husband's betrayal. She had fought through a devastating divorce. She had built a business from nothing. But she had also discovered her own strength. She had learned who her real friends were. She had created something meaningful with the scholarship fund. And now, maybe she was ready to consider letting someone new into her life. Someone who treated her with kindness and respect. Her phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. I saw your picture in the magazine. You look happy. I'm glad you're doing well. I just want you to know that I'm sorry for everything. I hope you can forgive me someday. Simone read the message, then deleted it without responding. She did not need Trevor's apology. She did not need his acknowledgement or his regret. She had already moved on. Trevor was part of her past, a painful chapter that had taught her important lessons about trust, betrayal, and resilience. But he was not part of her present or her future. Her future was her business, her scholarship fund, her friends, and potentially someone like Anthony, someone who saw her value and treated her accordingly. At home, Simone changed into comfortable clothes and made herself tea. She sat on her couch with her laptop, reviewing plans for a new client project. Her home felt peaceful now. It was fully hers again, with no trace of Trevor remaining. She thought about her father's funeral, about how devastated she had been that day. About Trevor bringing Vanessa, about his family's cruelty, about feeling completely alone and broken. If someone had told her then that 1 year later she would own a thriving business, have won an entrepreneur award, have started a scholarship fund, and have met a genuinely kind man who respected her, she would not have believed it. But it was all true. She had survived the worst betrayal of her life and had come out stronger. Simone closed her laptop and walked to her bedroom. On her nightstand was the photo of her father from his funeral program. She picked it up and studied his smile, his kind eyes. I did it, Dad, she whispered. I didn't let them break me. I built something better. Something good. I'm okay now. I'm really okay. She set the photo back down and turned off the light. Tomorrow she had a meeting with a new potential client. Tomorrow she would work on expanding the scholarship fund. Tomorrow she might call Anthony back. Tomorrow held possibility and promise. Trevor had tried to destroy her. He had stolen her money, betrayed her trust, humiliated her at her father's funeral. His family had been complicit in the cruelty. They had all assumed she would fall apart, would give up, would accept their mistreatment quietly. But they had been wrong. Simone had fought back. She had demanded justice and had gotten it. She had taken control of her life and had built something beautiful from the ashes of betrayal. She did not need revenge anymore because she had something better. She had her dignity. She had her success. She had a future full of possibilities. And that was all the revenge she needed.